Dear friends, welcome back to my channel Alpha Physio Pelvic Care, all things pelvic health. In case you're coming across my videos for the first time, my name is Anastasia Ovarova and I'm practicing pelvic floor physiotherapist here in sunny Cyprus and as well online, and I have over 10 years experience in pelvic floor physiotherapy. Today, this video is for moms-to-be. Today I will talk about very important thing: position in birth, pros and cons of any position. First of all, make sure you like this video. If you enjoy my content, you subscribe to my channel. It helps me a million and motivates me a lot. Let's begin. I would like to say a few words as an introductory speech that you as a mother have absolutely free choice of choosing your position of birth. It is very common to be birthing on your back, laying down flat or propped up, but you can choose any position you prefer. However, this said, you have to have a team that supports you in your choices, because if your team, your healthcare provider, your midwife, your doctor, whoever is attending your birth are not accustomed to deliver babies in a different position, then probably things might not work out. And it is very important to talk about these things way in advance you are giving birth. It is a little bit risky to assume that you do have a choice of position and then without discussing it with your healthcare provider going into the labor room. So make sure this is on your birth preparation plan to talk about different birthing positions with your healthcare provider before you give birth. On a personal note, I do have 2 children. I both had vaginally, and I delivered them in 2 different positions. Both were non-flat positions. One was in a deep squat and one was in a high kneeling. And I will talk about both positions, and I will talk about pros and cons of each position so you have more informed choice. Let's begin. Very first position we will talk about is deep squat. Deep squat is a great position because your pelvis is fully open and you are in a vertical position, so the gravity is completely on your side. You can use your abdomen, and most of the time when you are in a deep squat you do need to hold onto something in order to assist you. The great plus of this position is that you have all the intra-abdominal pressure to help you, and if you relax your pelvic floor enough with the help of gravity, if baby is in the right position, 1-2 pushes and the baby will be out. As well as it's a very versatile position. If you feel like you've been in squat and you got tired, you can just go onto 4-point kneeling or high kneeling later on. Of course, there can be some downside in this kind of position. First of all, in a squat you get tired quickly. If you don't have also to hold on to something, or maybe it's your spouse you're holding on, they will get tired quickly, and it's also a challenging position for the legs. You also need to have quite good hip mobility in order to be able to go into deep squat, or you can modify it in a less deep squat, in a more shallow squat. Again, you have to be supported somewhere. It can be rebozo, a hanging cloth, it can be a special bed, it can be a very good sturdy chair, so anything that is stable and can support you. Another research shows that mothers who are birthing for the first time and go into deep squat position have slightly more chances of grade 2 lacerations. And this was my own experience as well, as I delivered my first child in a deep squat position. It is a position where your pelvic floor is quite in a lot of tension, and if you will be pushing very hard, or maybe your tissues are just not elastic enough, maybe baby is bigger, you do run a little bit higher risk of laceration. That said, the risk is smaller than intervention you might get if you are in lithotomy position, which is completely flat on the back. We are moving on is high kneeling position, so standing on your knees and pushing in this position. This is great position because here you're more rested than in a deep squat. You can also hold onto something if you need to, and you have full benefits of gravity helping you out. Plus, your pelvic floor is not in that much stretch as it is in a deep squat position. Another good thing about this position, you can always move. You can always move lower, you can always move higher, you can always rotate your hips, you can always go into 4-point kneeling. So a very versatile position. You don't have to be stuck in it. You can always change at any moment. You can even bring one leg out if you feel like you need to move through the contraction. So very easy and versatile. And unlike standing, and yes, I do know women who deliver babies in standing, it is not as tiring, because when you stand, you have to have a very good control over what's happening, over your strength, and over catching your baby right. Because if you're standing, you really need to be aware, or the healthcare provider needs to be aware on when to get the baby and get them right on time. Whilst if you are in a high kneeling position, baby is crowning, maybe you're getting the head out in the first push, you can always lower down and baby will be right by the surface. So there is very, very, very minimal risk of any injuries to the baby as well. Of course, there is, as with any position, a downside. It can be tiring. This position is probably not as good if you have epidural. However, it all depends. If you have a walking epidural, unlike deep squat where you need to have much more control, if you have walking epidural, so epidural where you have reduced sensation of contractions, but you still can walk or stand, you still can go on a high kneeling and hold onto something or lean forward. If you have like full-on spinal block or epidural that doesn't permit you any leg movements, or you can't feel very well, then this position can be out of question. Another downside, of course, of this position is if you do have problems with your knees, it can be strenuous for your knees. So this is something, again, for you to consider. In this position, doctor or midwife is very unlikely to be able to give you any episiotomy or any other assisted birth, so this will not happen in this position. But again, it is always possible to go down and lay down and change and to have intervention if such necessity arises. Moving on, we're going now from the high kneeling onto 4-point kneeling. 4-point kneeling, it's so-called gravity neutral position. So there is not complete gravity support. You're kind of going into parallel. However, you are not yet against the gravity. So it's gravity neutral. In this position, you are a little bit more in control or pushing on how fast baby will exit. And it's a great position for somebody who has back labor, so-called back labor, when the baby is the spine of the baby is towards the mother's spine, and most of the contractions are felt in the back. 4-point kneeling can greatly relieve back labor and allows you quite a bit of movement. And here, your body is supported through your hands and through your knees. So much more support here. You can stand and move your back up and down. And again, this position may be possible for somebody who had walking epidural, so does have some control of the legs and has some sensation. This is also a great position when you push, so you can engage your abs here and lean back and forward and lean back, as well as you can always lower down and come onto your kneeling if necessary, or when baby is coming out, to make sure the baby is close to the surface. There is not a lot of downside of this position. This is really good neutral position, but again, it can be tiring. If the mother is tired, she can get tired of standing here in the same position. Sometimes you will need some intervention, so you will have to change this position again, or sometimes you will need a little bit more gravity to assist you with the birth. So you can always go up into high kneeling from this position. And of course, you need to take into consideration any health related to your hands, to your wrists, because in the end of the day, you are holding some weights onto your hands. Moving on to another neutral, gravity neutral position, which is your sideline. For the purpose of the video, I'm not going completely on the side. Well, usually it is like this, yeah. If you want, you can be up like this, and one leg is usually supported to open up the pelvis. Here, as in the previous position on hands and knees, coccyx is moving freely. It's not compressed, so the pelvis is opening to its maximum potential. This is again gravity neutral position, so you're not pushing against the gravity. However, gravity is not completely helping you. Again, this is great gravity neutral position for somebody who has epidural. Even if you don't have a lot of sensation in your legs, you can go onto your side. Either you or your birthing assistant can help you with holding the leg, or even place it on the ball or on the cushion or anywhere else so the leg can be open. Especially that if you want to get a little bit off your back, or maybe you do have back labor and you want that pressure off your back, but you don't have the capacity to go onto hands and knees. This is also a great position for pacing birth, and because the perineum is so open here and it's easy to support perineum either by the mother or by the healthcare provider. And especially for the women who have history of fast labor, where the baby exits fast, if they already had a baby, or maybe their mothers, their grandmothers have such a history and they are likely to have fast labor, this is great position to pace things. Downside of sideline position, you might get tired of it laying on one side, you might turn onto the other side, but this is again minimal problems with that. And don't worry about the shoulder. As I said, for the purpose of the video, I'm propped up here. The original position, you will be laying down and holding your leg in here and trying to push, engage your abs, or just waiting for that urge to come and just waiting for baby to be pushed out by fetal ejection reflex. Moving on. We're moving on now onto semi-reclined position. I'm going here onto my arms, but this position would be supported back, so you would be leaning on the bed that is propped up. The pros of this position is your upper body is still upright, so you can effectively engage your abs and relax your pelvic floor to let the baby out. This is a good position for somebody who has epidural. You can see how much you need the knee opening, the hip opening, so you can keep your legs closer, you can open them wider, you can take one leg up, and it's generally kind of a chilling out position. So if you're tired, or if you sometimes just don't want to get into any position, you can just be on your back and semi-propped, semi-reclined, and have your baby this way. It also makes easier for healthcare provider to make any interventions if necessary, such as episiotomy, perineal support, forceps, or vacuum delivery. Downside of this position here is you are laying on your coccyx, on your tailbone, that is compressed by the surface, so the movement backwards that happens during the labor, so movement backwards of the coccyx opening up, is reduced. There is not a lot of space for coccyx to go and to move. So this can potentially hinder the labor, but again, you always see at the individual circumstances, and from this position you can always kind of roll onto your side if necessary, onto the other side, or also to go on your side even if you do have epidural. Last but absolutely not very least is so-called lithotomy position. Lithotomy position is the one where a woman most of the time is flat on the bed and the legs are propped up. It's either on the leg holders or just with bent knees, and she's just pushing. Let's start with the downside of this position. This position is completely gravity negative, so you are pushing against the gravity. You're laying here and there is little pelvic mobility as well as little coccyx mobility, so your pelvis is closed. There is less space for baby to maneuver. In this position, it's quite hard to move anywhere, to be honest. So it is harder for mother to assist the birth and progress of the labor with the movement. In fact, this position was invented by male doctors that back in the days should have preserved the decency of the women, so they can cover them up everywhere and just open up and just to see as much as they need to see, or sometimes not even see, and just get with their hands under around the area of birth, and the rest of the kind of positions were considered indecent. Also, historically, before birth started to be medicalized, very few women delivered on the back. Almost never women delivered on the back, and in the traditional cultures, again, there is no such thing as laying on your back delivery. Now, what are the good sides of this position? Honestly, guys, none. Absolutely none. This is tiring position. This can put pressure from the baby onto your main aorta, so reduce baby's pulse, which can cause distress to a baby and cause medical interventions that might have not been necessary if you would change positions. It can be very hard on mother to push. Long pushing time is associated with high risk of pelvic organ prolapse and incontinence later on, as well as higher chance of tearing. In this position, interventions such as episiotomy is more likely to happen. So honestly, my personal advice here, and of course it's always up to you to decide, is to avoid this position as much as possible. This is just very tiring. Personal note, I did start to give birth in this position myself because I didn't know any better. However, luckily enough, my doctor, when he attended towards the end of my birth, he asked me to get down on the floor and squat, and I had my baby in 2 pushes. Otherwise, I don't know what would have happened. We would never find out. I'm glad I did, and I used a more gravity assisting position. I hope, guys, you enjoyed this video. I hope you find this useful. I hope it will make you think and make some important decision about your birthing experiences. Let me know what position you think you would like to give birth into, or maybe you'll be changing, or maybe you're already a mother and you had vaginal birth and you would like to share your experience in the comments. I will be very happy to read them. Make sure you drop that like if you enjoyed this video and watched it till the end. Subscribe to my channels for more videos, and we will see you back very soon. Bye bye.